God has opened doors to people that you have never met, but they're going to be a blessing in your life. God has opened doors to a job that you never thought of. God has opened doors to doctors, nurses, hospitals, anything in the path, according to God's will, that will be part of your life that we have no idea. That's God's hands working. What polygamy did, what Antiochus did, was that they planned this marriage according to their own wisdom and their own deceitful plan. The only reason was to bring peace between two nations, and it failed. We cannot be, as God's people, we cannot control every detail of our life. We cannot do that. It's impossible. We cannot control everything in our life to make sure it goes a certain way. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. Look what it says here in Proverbs. Listen to what God says more in the book of Proverbs, especially in chapter 16 and then verse 19. Proverbs 16. And it says here, starting in Proverbs 16, verse 9, and then 19 and 21. 16, verse 9. The scripture says this. This is so true. A man's heart deviseth his way. A man's heart will plan his way, but the Lord directs his steps. A man's heart will plan his way, but the Lord will direct his steps. We may have a plan, but God is still going to guide us. He's still going to direct us. We may have a goal, but God is still going to direct us to it. Now, chapter 19, verse 21, the scripture says this. This is good. I like this. This is awesome. I could go up on this one too. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 21 says this. There are many devices in a man's heart. There are many plans. There are many goals in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. So regardless of our plans, of our goals in our life, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. Wow. Look at verse 23. The fear of the Lord tendeth to life. The fear of the Lord leads to life. And he that hath it shall abide, shall be satisfied. He should not be visited with evil. Did you know that if we follow the fear of God and follow his plan, evil will not visit us? That's what that verse is saying. Here, this goes back to what Pharaoh did in the book of Exodus. The Babylonians were such bloodthirsty, weird, out-of-the-way people. One of the practices that they did, and I want you to follow along with this, because this is going to be shocking. You got all this? Mm-hmm. Now remember, the woman is very pivotal in the force of men.
Keith's mom says the man might be the head of the household, but the women are the neck from the head.
I know. Okay, Mom. Now, Babylon, they worship false gods. Did you know Babylon had as many as 100 of them in their religion? Part of that false worship was sacrifice. Now, you've heard of Lent, where you give up something? Did you know in the Bible, Jesus never commanded us to give up anything? He never did. All he sought was mercy and peace. All he saw when Jesus says, come and follow me, you follow him totally. But he never did say, you need to sacrifice something, because he is the sacrifice. Part of false worship means you have to give up something. In Babylon, you had, one of the gods was Moloch, or Moloch. Moloch was revered as a very powerful false god. Many people believe he's a demon. Actually, he's a prince demon under Satan. Moloch was appeased one way. He was worshipped one way. You know how he was worshipped? Sacrifice of babies. In order to worship this god, this powerful false god, or many people believe a prince demon, in order to worship this, you had to give up this. You saw your grandpa. There's no way in heck that you could give that up. Brittany and Morgan were born. There was no way in hell you were going to give them up. How can anyone sacrifice their babies for this? Why is that relevant to the story? Because this practice went to Egypt. That practice went to Syria. That practice spread and spread and spread, the sacrifice of babies. Then, in modern history, the sacrifice of children spread to the old Germans. Oh, now, show me proof of that. You know how many children were sacrificed in the Holocaust? Not all of them were adults. You had children. How about Spain? In the Spanish Inquisition. Many of them were babies, were children, because their parents would not give in to the Roman Catholic Church and submit to their authority. Are we seeing a pattern here? Are we seeing what happens when evil spreads? Are we seeing what happens when we see false god worship spread? The sacrifice of babies? The only reason they would have a baby was to sacrifice it. Think about that. The only reason they would have a baby was to please this false god. This sick and demented concept that started in Babylon, in the book of Genesis. And then it spread to Egypt and Syria and Germany during the Holocaust, Spain during the Spanish Inquisition. Oh. What about us? Oh, we don't worship false gods. Yeah, we do. We may not call it sacrifice, but we have another name for it.
Abortion.
It's called abortion. We may not sacrifice to a false god named Moloch, but we still kill them. Look what we have in common with all these nations. Did you know that Israel is the only nation on the face of this earth that actually protects the unborn? You cannot kill a baby in Israel because they will come after you. And where do you think Israel got that from? They got that from God Almighty. God told them in the book of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, He told them specifically when babies are born that you protect them in the first 6 months of their life, because that's when they're most vulnerable. God told them what water they drink, how temperature of the milk should be. He told them what they should eat and what should not eat. He was very specific. God gave them specific instructions on the babies for Israel, because God says, those are my babies. They protect the unborn. They protect them. Did you know it's a crime in the nation of Israel for a mother to try to purposely hurt her unborn baby? That's a crime.